What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Quick and Dirty Marketing Tips. My name is Zach Greenfield, and I've got notes here, and I got my laptop here open, and we're in the office. We're going to continue with our paid advertising series of videos that I'm sharing with you from the behind the scenes of what we've learned and what we're doing daily here at the agency for our clients. Today's video is all about Facebook ads and how that kind of fits in strategically. We're going to follow the same format we did with the other ads, with the other videos, excuse me. So look at my notes. So we're going to cover kind of what they offer as a platform, like what can you use it for, the tricks and the parts to focus on that we think are extremely important to be successful, and then best use strategically that probably can work for you, and the way that we typically deploy these, and then kind of what we like to do with this particular platform. So stick with us and let's dive into Facebook advertising. Okay, so today we're covering Facebook's advertising platform. Now, this thing is kind of a mother, frankly. It's big. I mean, I got it open here. I keep glancing over because I'm just like, there's a lot going on with it. If you've gotten into the actual ad manager, which is at business.facebook.com/ads manager, that's the true powerhouse dashboard. They do have kind of a dumbed down version, and then they even dumb it down more where you can like do a little boost, which I absolutely hate. I think boosted posts is the biggest waste of crap marketing ever. It's just a way for them to dip into the uninformed user's wallet by making their advertising simply one click to deploy an ad. So I discourage people from doing that because I feel like it's just super base, and it's just a way for them to rip $20 out of your pocket. And to boost an organic post? I mean, was that post really part of a campaign? Was it, not. Now, I know a lot of business owners do those things because they feel like a couple years ago when the algorithm changed, they kind of pinched everybody and everybody lost reach. So that was smart, right? They crunched everybody for reach, and they said, oh, just click this button and you can have your reach back for $20. But to me, I kind of say on that, I don't like it. And for my money, I think it's better just dive into the pro side of the system and really get smart with it, and develop some campaigns that are part of your bigger marketing strategy that are actually going to support those efforts and potentially bring you some leads and some new customers. And if not, raise awareness and keep yourself top of mind, which is one of our big objectives with all of our advertising. So let's go over I got to break this up because these videos are getting long. So today we're just going to focus on kind of the basic stuff that they can do for you. The ads are typically visual, so the Facebook likes you to have a picture or some sort of image associated with the ad. So it's very different than Google AdWords. Like, you're not going to put an ad there. And it's also different in the way that it operates, in so much that you deploy your ads based on audience-based data. So that's interests, demographics, and all of these settings that they have in there, where you can hopefully weed out the people that would like your product or service. And that's another part that gets tricky, but it's not based on keywords. It's very different from some of the other stuff we covered as it relates to pay-per-click and so forth. So it has its own thing. Now, the other thing you need to recognize is that while Facebook claims 3 billion something users as of this video, it is its own little fishbowl, right? It's when you place an ad on Facebook, it doesn't go anywhere else. Like, it's not on the internet. It's in their social media platform. So somebody has to be in the app or be on the Facebook page on the desktop. They're not just going to bump into it anywhere, which makes it strategically very different than media buying, display purchases through Google, and to some degree even PPC, which is kind of, to me, happening at the gateway of the internet, where everybody's using Google's opening search page to generate some queries. So it's happening in its own little universe, the Facebook universe. On this video, I'm not going to jump into the fact. I know some of you are like, well, what about Instagram? They own it. Yeah, we know that. They do own Instagram, and the ad platform supports both. But for today, we're just going to focus on the one side of the equation, which is the Facebook side of the equation. So something that's important for you to know as a business owner is the demographics of Facebook are definitely different than Instagram. There's probably, in my mind, it's a little bit of an older crowd. Facebook was around first, so it's, the pages and users are in some ways more established. It's not as fast acting. I think people spend, more time like engaged on individual pieces of content. I think Instagram definitely has great scroll engagement, as people flip. But Facebook, people actually do dig in more to content, stories, and groups, and there's kind of like, there's a little bit more of a sticky vibe to it and the way it's structured than Instagram's sort of like just cruising interface that they have. So that's something to pay attention to as you decide where to go with what you do. If you have a product or service that's more slated for, say, an older demographic, say 35 plus, then it's probably a great spot for you. If you're really feeling like your stuff is more 35 and younger, then start thinking about how to design a campaign to engage that audience, probably over on Instagram. So we're sticking with Facebook today though, but it's important to understand the differences because there are interface differences, the ads and the way they work are actually different, and the demographics are differences. Okay. So the big trick, just to cover the tricks and things that you need to focus on, you'll hear this from everybody and you're going to hear it from me today. Audience development and figuring out your audience is like the name of the game. You've got to do your homework on your audience. You really have to understand your best potential prospect, what that person's interests are, how old they are, what sex they are, where they hang out, where they are maybe geographically, if it's a local thing. All of that stuff is stuff that you really have to narrow down. For two reasons. One, you want your ad to be relevant because you want responses. The other thing is you don't want to spend money advertising a bunch of people that aren't interested. So the better you do with your audience, the better you do with your budget resources, and the better you're going to get response rate, which is why you really have to spend time on that and not cheese out on it, because it's just going to end up costing more money and wasting everybody's time throwing ads at people that aren't interested, and you're just not going to get the response rates you want. It's going to dilute your numbers, and it's just a mess. So you've got to start there. So that's task number one. The other thing about Facebook that's interesting is you kind of have two choices with it, in my opinion. You can put something out that is overtly an ad, just like straight up, it's an ad. Everybody knows it's an ad when they see it. The other thing that you can do though is you can also put ads that sort of feel like organic posts and kind of slide them in there in the feed, and they don't feel like ads, they feel like organic stuff. Now that is a pretty neat little thing you can do in there, but I'm letting you know there's a little bit of a fork in the road with how you choose to present your offer or whatever it is action that you're trying to evoke from these users. So if you're if it's straight up like, you got a great deal, like 40% off, you might just want to throw that out there as an overt ad. If it's something more subtle, like join my group or attend this webinar or I have a service or something like that, that sometimes works well as more of an organic post that feels like a real life story or something that, they need to pay attention to, that would engage them. And then they go, oh, wait, what, how, and a little bit more feeling like it's not just they're being advertised to. And you need to pay attention to that because people are sensitive to being advertised to. Nobody likes to be, that old saying, cliche or not, is true. Nobody likes to be sold. Everybody likes to buy, right? I think a lot of us have heard that in the business, and some of you have heard that watching this, but it is really a true on Facebook and all social media platforms. You got to be careful, like trying to sell people, because they're immediately going to throw up a block to that and a resistance, and they're going to scroll past it or click it away or whatever. but they love to buy. So you got to think about that in terms of how do you get them on the buying journey. And sometimes that's just an organic post. You're paying for it, but it's an ad that feels like an organic journey for them, and relevant for your audience, and that can be extremely effective. And it's a neat place to do it because it's not something that's offered really in any way by Google's advertising platform. It's not something you can do in a traditional media buy. The video thing is like an outlier for this discussion. So this is the place where you sort of can play that game, which is it's got some cool elements. And as you see, TikTok and Instagram kind of have that vibe going with the way that they're presenting their advertising opportunities. But it started here, and you still can do it here on Facebook. So just understand that fork in the road, okay? And then assume 100% that the ad's going to have some visual element. Facebook does have guidelines on that, though. You cannot have a ton of text on the ad. They've got a ratio there that limits you, so you can't. They really want images on the platform, and then they give you spots for text and headlines and links and even like an entire story if you want to write one. So you have that. The system will also carry video ads. It obviously carries videos for lots of other stuff, including 360 videos and carousels and all this like dynamic content, all these crazy settings in the back end. So there really isn't a lot. That's one of the strengths. There really isn't a lot of limits on what you can do with the media. You can do a lot. You can have multiple images, a video file, and all these other choices that they're now offering that just keep getting more and more elaborate, frankly. So you can really play around with cross-testing that and so forth. And the back end is very robust in terms of its tooling, and it's come along a ton in the last, even 5 years, but from the beginning, it's like a whole nother beast than what it started with. So the way we typically run these is we have stuff out that is in both channels that we talked about. We have stuff that's overt ads, but I love it for, again, retargeting and staying top of mind. Because if I get somebody on a web page and we get them there from some other strategy, not necessarily from social media, but even if they came from social media, and then they go back into that bubble with Facebook and Instagram, I don't want them to lose track of the client's project or whatever the offer is. So I love to use that environment to stay in front of people. The cost is very effective. Cold advertising on Facebook can get pretty expensive. The bid rates are definitely far more than I see wholesale, like cost per mil, which is 1,000 impressions of an ad. They tend to run pretty hot on that price-wise. I think you hear all these guru people over the internet are like, I'm getting leads for a nickel. I'm here to tell you that those are exceptions, and that most times you're going to see costs in the $5+ area for a meaningful click from a real prospect in a fairly competitive market. It could be higher, definitely paid higher there. And to give you some comparisons just from the real world, my behind the scenes, this week literally ran ad there on Facebook and an ad that was straight up display on 2 different platforms. So one is wholesale media buy, the other one is happening in Facebook's ad platform. The comparison was we're paying $5.25, $5.30 a click on Facebook, and we were down at like $2.25 on a straight wholesale media buy. So it's half the price to get the same, and audience data is pretty much the same, but we're bidding in a much looser environment. It's not as tight, right? So Facebook's sort of smaller compared to the internet, although it is obviously huge. So you got their own sort of cost modeling. There's not other people in that market. They control the whole market, so they can run, more profitably, which, by the way, they just crushed their quarter in earnings. So there you go. So just be careful with that on the money side. But I love it for staying top of mind. I love it for being omni-channels, another strategy we're definitely going to talk about in another video, which is sort of being everywhere. No matter where your prospect and customers go, they see you. So they're on the internet, they see you. They're on YouTube, they see you. They're on Facebook, they see you. They're on Instagram, they see you. They're like, hey, this guy's everywhere, right? And that just lends to that whole professional vibe, that upper tier that you want to present your business as. So we're done. 15 minutes, super long video, a lot to cover there, and we didn't even do the Instagram part. But if this helped you sort of get a bigger, broader, high level understanding of how this could work for you, go ahead and click subscribe, maybe share this video. We're dropping these like every week, and we're going to keep up this paid traffic sort of high strategy awareness set of videos going forward. So don't miss those, and we'll see you on the next one.